Welcome to Midnight Nerd! Okay, so people just a little younger than me are confused about the racial identity of the character Green Lantern. In a Justice League cartoon series, they use the Green Lantern John Stewart. No, not the guy from The Daily Show, he's a black guy. In the comics, John Stewart was a backup Green Lantern to Hal Jordan. In an attempt to be ethnically sensitive, they made John Stewart the Green Lantern of that show, even though in the comics, the story is about Hal Jordan. I was in high school at the time, and I was afraid kids will grow up thinking that there's only one Green Lantern and he's a black guy. They wouldn't even know about Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner. And I was right. There's a lot of people right now who are seeing the movie posters of Ryan Reynolds and they're going, why isn't he black? Seriously, sometimes I can't believe people are that young. I mean, these are people that are like 5 years younger than me who don't know of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. And I'm really hoping this does not hurt Green Lantern's film debut this summer. I want him to have a good movie. I want him to have a blockbuster. I want people to really like this movie. Have you ever been turned on by a comic book character? When an artist draws a sexy woman, you ever just been aroused by her? Like some beautiful woman with nice curves, a pretty face, and luscious tits and ass. I mean, the Catwoman, you know, you gotta love them. Now there is a new subgenre sweeping cons and the internet. It's the superheroine fetish video. Now in the 1940s, Wonder Woman completely lost her powers when she was tied up and bound to something. Now doesn't this strike you as, hey, this is there's kind of a fetish thing going on. There's kind of this lot of a bondage plot going on here. Well, that's basically what this new subgenre is about. Women dress up in spandex, superhero-like outfits, and perform in rooms that look vaguely like this room, like not much different, just a room. Could be any room, could be someone's office. They don't need an actual set. And the whole point of the video is the superheroine is in peril. And it's all about fetishizing the superheroine being completely helpless, being tied down, being totally dominated by her enemy. It's all about the fetish of defeat. She's on her knees, she's helpless, she's crawling on the floor in her tight spandex. And it doesn't really turn me on that much, to be honest. I mean, maybe if they were naked, maybe if they ripped their clothes off, but there's not even any sex involved in this. It's just cheesy video of a superheroine fighting another supervillain, and they just lose, and it's all about them losing. It's not, I don't know about it. So I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was all this talk over digital comics replacing conventional comics, that comics will no longer be in paper, they will just be on the internet. And I really didn't think that actually happened, because still comics, they're still in paper. I don't know of any nerd that downloads mass internet comics and that's his entire collection. I mean, if you're a fan of comics, you have that collecting spirit where you want this piece of art in your hand. Both the invention of the Kindle and the iPad, there's a lot of talk over digital comics. Now let's hear the pros of digital comics. Now when reading a comic, you can't help but flip to the next page and get a peek at what's happening next, which usually spoils the story for you. But when you're reading a digital comic, you're reading digital pages, and you can't really do that unless you have really clumsy fingers. You just go woo 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 woo. And there's also the free space. It creates more free space. Like, you no longer have boxes and boxes full of trades and comics. You just have all these comics on your Kindle or on your iPad. and they're just there on there digitally. And also you have comics on demand. Like if you're awake at 3 o'clock in the morning and desperately want to read Batman Black and White, you could just download it. And if you have a significant other in bed with you, just turn on your Kindle, read it while she's sleeping. Or if you're bored on the bus, you could just flip on your iPad and get some comic action going. I mean, it's a 24-hour comic service. Plus, they're cheaper by the dozen. And people see this really taking off with the digital dominance of this modern age. Films and TV are now going digital, and they say so are newspapers and comics. But like I said, if you have that collecting spirit, that spirit of liking comics, you want paper, you want it in your hand, and it's looking at it on a screen is just not the same. Stan Lee said something like that, like it's just not the same as having it in your hand reading it.